With the former world champion, 15 years, dominating the top of world chess for 20, accolades like you wouldn't believe. We couldn't even list them now because we'd be here the whole afternoon. We are with Garry Kasparov. Garry, welcome to the show.
Great to be here again.
Garry, when you envision the World Chess Tour, the Grand Chess Tour, could you have imagined how exciting the games would be? I mean, so far we've had thrilling game after game, round after round. These players are really fighting it out.
Now, I was always puzzled by these predictions, time and again, that chess would end up as a dead draw, as a drawish death that is imminent threat for the game of chess. Yeah, we heard it in the 20s and the 30s, last century, and now with the computers, there were so many predictions. And my attitude was that it's not about the deep opening preparation. It's not about the players being so strong in defending and less aggressive in attacking. It's all about the attitude. If they want to fight, they always find a way to make games complicated and attractive. I think it's Magnus as a world champion contributed dramatically because he has fantastic fighting spirit, reminding us of Bobby Fischer. But also you look at other players, just everybody wants to fight. Yeah, there are draws, but you can't avoid draws in chess. Yeah, but it's almost every game, with very few exceptions. It's just it tells us something. You can learn something from these games, and I think it's even before you look at the board, you can look at the players and their faces, and you can feel the energy and determination, even if you're not in St. Louis. And of course, here in St. Louis, I think they can't afford to play without this passion.
Absolutely been some really passionate games. Levon Aronian has played a couple, but what is your thought about the game that Hikaru Nakamura beat Wesley So in your beloved King's Indian? That attack was spectacular.
I enjoyed it immensely. So just to watch the old glory of King's Indian to be returned. I even made a few tweets about our encounters with Yasser, so because even Yasser played once against me, the King's Indian, and I stumbled with white pieces.
Oh, incredible. I think Yasser on the side of that, but that was a thrilling game. I mean,
that's thrilling games, but that's this is what we can learn from Grand Prix tournaments. That is, it's about the players, it's about the attitude, and chess is a game with infinite opportunities, just to create masterpieces and also to make blunders. So, and I think that the Grand Prix does a great job by restoring the glory of classical chess and refuting those pessimists who predicted that classical chess would be totally replaced by rapid, by blitz. Yeah, it's very important, that we have other forms of chess. And naturally they will occupy sort of bigger space in chess competitions. But, even the popularity of different kind of music, is not threatening the existence of opera.
Well, certainly that was an operatic game.
Yeah.
The Grand Chess Tour has been now led by Vasyl Topalov.
Are you sure today? What do you say now?
Well, we haven't calculated the new points yet, but he was leading. What do you think about Vasyl and his play in Norway and now this tournament? Is he kind of fading a bit?
Look, the start he had in this tournament, just made me feel for a moment that the London could be a formality because starting the tournament beating Magnus and Hikaru in the first two rounds, that was sort of a very serious beat to finish off the Grand Prix here. But again, that's the beauty of the game of chess, and it's Vasyl is a great player, but he faced very stiff resistance from others, and I think probably he got it's not complacency, because when you play such a strong opposition, anything can happen. But, we stumbled, and now we are, just waiting for more exciting games, because I doubt very much that anybody can have sort of comfortable life in London. So it seems now that, London will have at least 3-4 players, competing for the title, and I think that will create sort of a better expectations for our next cycle.
Talk about stumbling. Are you surprised by the way Magnus Carlsen has handled the Grand Chess Tour so far? Has back in Norway won, and now here at the Sinquefield Cup.
Yeah, it would not be honest for me to say that I was not surprised, because in my Twitter and Facebook, I always called Magnus a favorite, and I think it was natural. And I think it was quite rational to expect him to, if not to win every tournament, but to be on the top on each event. I guess that the game one with Vesselin in Norway had tremendous psychological effect on Magnus. Yeah, of course, the great players can recover after one loss, but I think psychologically, by losing on time in a winning position, not actually recognizing that is the time control, is not exactly what he expected to be. That had a very profound effect on him. Here, I think he had, he took it very seriously. He definitely wanted to win, and he recovered after the first loss. But still, the game somehow is missing this aura of invincibility, because the game two he beat Caruana, he was lucky, let's say. And by the way, I would even mention that this game two, I think also caused problems this time for Caruana, because I understood that young players who never played without increments, I think they are psychologically struggling with the fact that they are not getting a premium for each move they make.
It's funny because back in the day, you guys play without instruments,
exactly.
So I play without increments.
Exactly,
but
for them, there's like an expectation, and when you are under pressure, in the time trouble, you play with your instincts, and instinctively, I make a move. In classical chess, I get 30 seconds increment. So when Caruana, for instance, enters the time trouble zone, and he has, a couple of minutes left for 6-7 moves. For him, it's still not a couple of minutes, but 5 moves, you have 2.5 minutes extra.
So why did the Grand Chess Tour choose this particular time control?
I think those are some problems of the first year, because we have been dealing with 3 individual tournaments, and they had their own traditions, and that was very difficult to sort out all the problems. And now I understand that with all these problems that we faced, I think next year probably it will make a lot of sense to have one unified time control, and also talk to the players and to make sure that they will be very comfortable with this.
Let me ask you, this is a critical position for the standings. Aronian is playing against Anand in a position that basic chess, every Russian schoolboy and every American schoolboy would say white is better here. What is your assessment of this position, and why would Anand allow this massive pawn center development for white? It just looks like he has all the space on the board.
No idea. I know this position, and first of all, I was very pleased to see that this is one of the crucial games of the tournaments. Followed my games with Anatoly Karpov and in our match in Sevilla, and then later I had a chance to introduce my novelty. D2, D4 was a novelty I thrown at Ivanchuk and won very quickly in the Soviet National Championship in 1988. So I had something to do with this position at the board, I remember when I analyzed this, I disregarded the line with DC4 because bishop G5, take, E4, queen A4, white is better. So in the old days, we didn't didn't waste time analyzing this, because naturally white is better. So what's the heck? So why should you waste time? I still think, just even having a risk of being called old-fashioned, white is better because it's a strong...
We're all old-fashioned.
I have no idea. So this in this line of it's a very sharp line of this English opening, and black again. I didn't analyze it for quite a while, but I remember black had numerous options of having sharp but decent positions. Whether Anand wanted to have more fun, I have no idea. But I would, if I have to choose, the color, I would be definitely playing with white pieces. Though I think that black resources, that should not be underestimated. But, having 2 pawns on E4, D4, always made me feel very comfortable when I played white.
That's not a good thing for your opponents to hear. Well, before I let you go, tell me your new initiatives, anything you have to share with us. Maybe it's the Grand Chess Tour or anything else you're doing. I know you're always traveling around the world, very busy with your Kasparov Chess Foundation in various parts of the planet.
It's a long-term plan. So just bringing chess into the classroom around the world, requires a lot of efforts, meetings, talks, promotions. Out of the recent I would call successes of Kasparov Chess Foundation concept. We're about to open a new one in Adriatics, Kasparov Chess Foundation Adriatics. I had a few days ago, 3 days ago actually, in Split, I had a meeting with the Croatian Minister of Education, Science and Sports, and he agreed to let us starting pilot sessions in Croatian schools, so that hopefully will lead to the promotion of our concept in the entire region of Adriatic. So that's one of the recent developments. But overall, I still believe that there's a lot to be done. So even just without having FIDE on our side, so I believe that with private initiative and with this huge enthusiasm for the game of chess, we can do many, many great things.
Well, I want to personally thank you for the help that the Kasparov Chess Foundation has done in Africa with tournaments for Millionaire Chess in Kenya, in South Africa, in Nigeria, and also, I should add, in my home country of Jamaica. It's very generous of you to
But in Africa,
help out.
it's just thanks for mentioning it. There's a phenomenal enthusiasm. It's always easy to work in places where people are so enthusiastic. So that's, again, I think is the popularity of chess and the power of persuasion, intellectual persuasion. It has been highly underestimated. And working in Africa always gives me sort of a special feeling because there's such a great enthusiasm, interest. So we understand that what we're doing is just, is having a profound effect on kids and also on society as a whole.
We absolutely appreciate that. Thank you so much. Gary, did I hear that you wanted to help with the commentary to try to take over our job? Was that a rumor?
No. I was asked kindly whether I had anything against it, and I said no, but if there are some trade union rules here, I'll respect them.
All right, we'll see. I don't want you taking our job over. The one piece we've got left. Well, thank you so much, world champion Garry Kasparov, former world champ, still a great ambassador to the game, such a force for the world of chess. And yeah, I don't know if I want him in the seat, guys. He might get kicked out. Back to you.
Welcome back to the 2015 Sinquefield Cup. Well, if you're watching now, good job taking Monday off because our special guest, Garry Kasparov, is back and he's here to do a little chess analysis this time.
Welcome. First of all, I didn't even get a chance so far to say congratulations. I was in London when you were playing Nigel Short, and you came out with a 5-0 wipeout on day 2. And attack. That's what it is, Gary. Do we have...
St. Louis is a very inspiring place for aggressive chess.
Do we have attack today by Magnus?
No, it's more about endgame technique.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was quite surprised that Hikaru played this line that is not favorable for black. So
you remember this from the Karpov-Korchnoi
No, actually,
match,
it's moreover, I remember it, from a year when I worked with Magnus, because Bishop E2 became popular. Yes, this move, Bishop E2.
As opposed to the old knight
D2.
D2.
Old knight D2, yes. So that was an old line. So and Bishop E2 became popular, and the best line for black was D takes C4, Bishop takes C4, Knight H5, and then white just gives up a bishop playing castle. It's castle, Knight takes C4, E takes F4. And Magnus played it with black actually against Kramnik. He lost the game, but he had decent position, so it's defensible, but it's slightly unpleasant. And actually, I think after this game, Kramnik Carlsen, black stopped playing, the C5 and gradually moved to Knight BD7. So that's why Magnus played a different move order with A3. At early stage A3 here. But now, but A3 it's normally met by B6 because now white played move that is not very useful in the line with B6.
Yes.
So that's why B6 considered to be the best response. So Hikaru played C5, then was the transposition, and it seems to me that he was not aware that line with Knight E4 has been discredited. Yes, just from the very beginning, I think one of the Ivan Sokolov's games. And I remember we looked at this with Magnus and he just said, no, it's horrible, so he was disregarded immediately. So Hikaru is desperate.
That this position was just so good for white.
It's a question is this, whether, black has to spend a lot of energy, not to lose the material immediately. So it's still not clear whether Hikaru is all his, tactical tricks and and his ability to sort of to complicate things. And he found a maneuver of bringing this bishop, one bishop was a3, and then another one came to a4. So, yes, which is not definitely an ideal position for bishops. So when you look at Magnus' bishops and Hikaru's bishops, but still, he still keeps up a pawn. He material equality, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know, this bishop c6, a6, bishop b7, probably still winning the pawn. So it's the bishop b7, bishop d6, bishop e3,
Yeah.
and f5, and I don't know now.
But this is not a Hikaru position. There's not enough
this
resources, not
no,
enough
it's
fire
probably
in the
with
position.
f4, probably with f4. So and I don't know. You just have to find.
You're feeling that this is really just simply terrible.
It's terrible. I mean, it's rook f6. Yeah, bishop takes a6, and if you take on f4, he takes on b5. So maybe bishop a3. I mean, at least trying to play position.
Bishops of opposite color.
Yes, and now white has a choice. Maybe when rook takes b5, even sacrificing an exchange.
Yes.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Just with just.
Two connected pass bonds.
No, bishop takes b5.
Bishop takes b5.
Bishop takes b5. Bishop takes b5.
Bishop takes
that's-
b2,
rook
rook takes 4, and these two connected
Course,
pass
yes,
bonds.
yes.
But
It'll
it's
be fun.
also one of those positions where, when you go back to this ending, what we have at the board, one of the things that strikes me about the position is, in a sense, white's a piece up. His king on d2 is actually very useful. The king can come to d3 and support
Of course,
c4 and
yeah,
d5.
but it's
And this king on g8. I understand
Right,
what
yes.
you're saying about the roles of the bishops, but also the
But
fact
it's
that white's...
No, but all white. I mean, just you look at the white rooks and black rooks. So one rook is on f8. So this is almost every piece. It's
working.
it's working and it's better than the opponent's piece.
Exactly.
Yeah, and of course pawn on d4 now it's
huge.
It's just huge because I mean in the pawn's end game you rather have the pawn
Outside.
outside, but here you still it's some kind of a middle game. So without queens, and that's why it's white position it's from better to winning. So the only danger is that you have so many options, so you can get overexcited, but. I mean, looking at the history of Carlsen Nakamura's games, I wouldn't bet on Hikaru's survival.
Speaking of which, if you were working with Nakamura before this game, in light of that tournament score and playing with the black pieces, what opening choices would you recommend for Nakamura here?
Against Magnus.
Against Magnus specifically.
King's Indian.
Yeah, we were speculating that he might try that again.
I think again, you have to play your openings. I mean, there's nothing. I'm nothing against King Queen's Gambit. I mean, it's very very solid, but I think it's for Hikaru to play Queen's Gambit. Just requires it's
a lot of patience.
A lot of patience, and also it's preparation. You have to know all the details, and again, Magnus played it with both colors. So of course Magnus even played King's Indian, but there's always a chance. So there's always a chance to complicate things and just to create some counter chances. And even if you go down, you will be kicking and screaming. So while here, you'll be just screaming
without the kicking. And maybe also a Grunfeld, because you both like the Grunfeld.
I don't know. Hikaru is not. I mean, he's more of King's Indian player.
Exactly.
But definitely you have to play a sharper opening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and especially in this tournament where Magnus is not that comfortable when position becomes complicated. So you can clearly see that when opponents attacks, like Topalov G5 or yesterday Grishuk, when opponent has some kind of initiative, Magnus is less comfortable. That's here is just you have his position. It's.
One of the things, Garry, you're really a chess historian as well. You enjoy chess, all aspects of chess. I just find it remarkable that you can have two great players like Hikaru and Magnus with such a lopsided result. Yet somehow in the world of chess, sometimes you have players who are really great players, have a big result against one player. Player A has a great result against player B. Player B has a great result against player C, but player C has a great result against player
Rock,
A.
paper, scissors, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
how does that happen? Why?
Look, it's not pure mathematics. It's a game that is is full of psychology, and sometimes you don't do well. I mean, I had a negative score against Vachier. I mean, that's not the strongest player, -1. So
Really?
we played quite a few games. So I
Right.
also had a negative score against Gulko or against Romanishin. So
But you only played Boris a few times.
yeah, a few times with Boris, but with Vachier played many games. Just -1. So okay, if you don't count rapid chess,
Right.
I did. I beat him in rapid. So that's why overall I'm in plus. But so I had a negative score against Kramnik in classical. So again, in rapid and blitz, so I think I'm slightly ahead. Kramnik always had difficulties, for not all the time, but in the beginning, great difficulties playing against Shirov. And I beat Shirov 16-0, so that was draw. So that's
Well, there's
yeah.
an indication of what I mean.
exactly.
Wow, how did you have such a massive score against Alexei?
I think it's about style. So Alexei has a very specific chess style that
Very
that
dynamic.
didn't work against me. Because just
Sorry to interrupt.
Sure,
Sorry to interrupt.
sure.
Big news, guys. Aronian and
Levon?
Anand.
Anand, sorry.
We have a draw as a result. Is that what I think we're hearing? Let's just quickly go to that. I believe we're having a draw. No, it looks like he's still thinking. So we got misinformation there. The game is not concluded as yet. Anand is still looking at the board.
But not the game that
no,
intrigues you.
they're still playing.
No, there's two players. No, look, Aronian could force a draw a couple of times. So I think it's just here, rook b7 instead of knight a6.
Oh, back.
Instead of knight a6, you could play rook b7.
And what's the repetition?
I think the only move is rook b8 here.
Okay,
Rook b8, rook c7, and black must do perpetual, rook b1, rook b2.
I
Because
see.
otherwise the knight is just
Trapped.
Yes, rook b2, king,
Back.
king, yes, king g1. So
That was one draw.
that was a draw. So that's why and of course Aronian could make a draw after knight a6, rook d7. He could have played knight c5 if he
Yes.
wanted to make a draw.
Yes.
So I think a4 is a clear indication that Aronian is looking for something else. So
Something
I think
more.
he's right because it seems that he has no risk. He wants to play probably a5, go on c5, and then a6, just to push the pawn.
Bring the knight back to c5.
and then pawn eventually on a6.
And
Yeah.
Anand has played king to f8. What do you think of Levon's play in this tournament, and which was your favorite of his games?
Look, he's a very solid tournament. So I think yesterday was a very good game. So the game was more attractive, but it's just it's again professionally. I would pick up the game against Nakamura because he outplayed him completely. So
Comprehensively.
again, I think it was a wrong choice of the opening. This is
For Hikaru,
Hikaru. Just he don't want to play with Aronian in the position. He knows, well. He played it many times, and also again, I think the moment the queens are off the board, Hikaru is less enthusiastic. So, and which is natural because he's a great player, tactical player. He's very resourceful, and positions without queens they offer less opportunity for him to show his strengths. So you always want to make sure that your strengths is just will be on display,
Yes.
and you don't want to play in the territory where your opponent is feeling better. I mean the mistake I made while playing Kramnik. So that's exactly it. So, and I think Hikaru's opening choice yesterday and today,
He has to prepare better.
yeah.
Yeah.
You've never played blitz chess without queens, Gary.
Look, no, yes, I what?
Maurice, you have some.
Eventually a
news for
draw.
us.
Yes.
Well, you want to see an unusual situation, and you guys might want to comment on the position itself in a game between Wesley So and Vasily Topalov. Well, we have a double bishop ending, the king on e5. But what's unusual is the fact that Wesley So has more time than he started with. After 40 moves, he has 2 hours and 13 minutes on the clock. More time than he started with at 2 hours. That means this is not with even any increment, as a matter of fact. It's just the fact that he played so quickly that he was able to complete 40 moves and get the additional hour. So it's not often that you see this happen, but after 40 plus moves, he has 13 more minutes than he started with.
Not so often.
But the game was not so complicated. So
But still remarkable.
Yeah, it's remarkable, but it's just okay. It's just they move the pieces around, so it's there's no conflict in the game. So and then Topalov didn't have to be overcautious by defending his position. So I think now he can just put a pawn on c6 and just move
And move his bishop on.
and move the bishop to Or
Just,
yes. Or
anywhere he
he
wants.
can start with bishop e2 maybe now. So just
Yeah,
maybe
also
now
bishop
with bishop e2,
E2.
yes, just to make sure that everything.
There's
is,
no h4,
no.
h5 to disturb.
No. But it's still high. It's very hard to imagine.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. The king on e5 looks good, but that bishop on e7 is keeping the door closed, and yeah, very hard to imagine that even after, let's say, e4, or what should we do? c6.
Before, yeah, but you could have taken.
Takes. Dead.
No,
Yeah,
dead.
just dead.
And let's go back to the Carlsen Nakamura game because it looks
Sure.
like we've gotten some more moves there. And
And that's the Levant game, and we do
What's
have.
happened there?
Okay, so when we left
Bishop
it,
d6.
as you expected,
d3,
by the way,
yes.
bishop d6,
And you
bishop
play
e.
a5, yes.
There was no f5. There
Okay,
was
but
an
a5.
a5 push.
Yes.
Bishop c6, very natural. Give me
Rook
the
d8.
pawn.
Rook d8, d5.
and here we are.
Very natural. Bishop, no, it's bishop a7. It's threat.
Bishop a7 is a threat.
That's what I.
Just driving this rook.
Yes.
This looks just
Yes, should play with bishop
terrible.
e5 now,
Bishop
maybe.
e5, yeah, okay.
So that you can just play rook c8 at least.
So against
After bishop
bishop
a7.
a7, rook c8 is an issue here. I guess there's some cheapo like this that we have to just avoid.
Mm-hmm.
With we
Yeah,
just
but
have
that's
to.
before now is after bishop e5. Before is a threat.
Yes. So after bishop e5,
Yeah, that's why I thought about starting with. If you go f4, bishop f6, g4, then b4. So that's a threat now. F4,
sorry,
F4 if you want to push the bishop, bishop f6, and g4 now b4.
g4,
Yeah,
b4.
yes.
I can't take the bishop
No,
because
because it's boom.
oops.
Suddenly, and
Oopsie
attack.
daisy.
Suddenly there's so
Okay,
there's
so
some chances created. Yes, bishop e5.
But everything's
Yeah, but
good.
maybe
I-
yes.
everything's good for
No,
white.
king d3. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
just
Simply
yeah,
yes, to
step out of that one
Yeah.
little tactic, and every b4 move gets met with a rook
No,
takes.
but black. Yeah, I know that's easy. Yeah, but now maybe black can go rook d8 now.
Rook f d8
Yes, fd8.
with
No,
cheapo ideas or
Yeah, no,
something.
the idea is after bishop
E4.
a7 to play rook c8.
Aha! And now my king is maybe miss.
Yes. Now,
Mi-
just to remind you that it's still a middle game. this is not exactly the end game.
It is
Yes.
not
Yes.
exactly the ending. One of the things there, rook d8. One of the opportunities that white might have is an exchange sacrifice just to get these two pawns
Yeah,
rolling.
That's slightly different. Okay, maybe.
Uh,
But it's,
How about another just simple Magnus kind of move? Bishop d4 here. If we trade, it's like black is just getting squeezed.
king over c5, yes?
Yeah, ooh, and an eventual c4. It seemed to me in the Sinquefield Cup before, the previous, Magnus has done great against Hikaru from the openings. Just he's beating him in the openings, he's beating him in the endgames, he's beating him
not only in Sinquefield Cup. You
Yeah.
look at the Norway, so it's almost at every tournament.
Right.
This is-
Again, it's just a bad matchup. Stylistically, you think, or maybe this is psychological.
I think it is something psychological. I think it's just, and Hikaru tried to boost his confidence by saying, "I'm the best," just sort of the biggest threat to Magnus. But I think
Right.
it's more about, trying to get excited. But it's probably a way to cover your lack of confidence.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
Magnus called Nakamura out and said he's not the first best player, he's not the second best, he's not the third best, he's somewhere after that. What do you think of this kind of like trend of trash talking at the elite level of chess?
Oh, well, look,
Was
Magnus has, just has a phenomenal record against Hikaru. So
It's hard to.
I would, it's not to my liking, yes, to do that, but it's, I think they both are quite cocky, so and I'm sure it adds, spice to their games.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Was there some trash talking in did you have in the Soviet Union some trash talkers that you felt that you had to?
No, I don't think we had. It was not very popular when I played Karpov. You remember? Okay, we don't remember that, but we read in the books, and also we spoke to people who were there. That Fischer's arrogance, that was something highly unusual by the standards of classical chess. But I don't think Fischer went after players. I mean, it's even Fischer never, just made sort of diminishing comments.
Right.
Though he had all, just...
he had other comments that were controversial.
No, I know, but it just, when you look at, his matches, with Taimanov, Larsen, Petrosian, even Spassky, so he had every reason on this planet, just to
be contemptuous.
Yes, to be contemptuous. And I don't think he was.
No, that's true.
But this is sarcastic. I mean, Grisha gave the credit to Levon Aronian and said that you can't really believe it, that they're joking around trying to make it more popular.
Yeah.
Look. But Levon is a nice guy. So again, you don't expect Levon to make very tough comments. So once I said that he's too kind. And his lack of animal instinct. Something that prevents him from winning more tournaments.
He needs to be more killer.
Yes.
Confessional. What's your view of the confessional? Did you enjoy it when the players came and said something that?
When I first heard about it from our Norwegian friends, I had a lot of reservations because I made the projections immediately to the past.
Of course.
Can you imagine us going to the confessional
during the World Championship?
Yeah. But then I just thought, look, life has changed. We played, first World Championship matches. When I played Karpov, with 2 hours and 30 minutes for 40 moves.
Right.
Then the game adjourned. So it was an old classical time control. And I remember that when we first heard about 2 hours for 40 moves, and then
radical.
Very radical change. This is radical change. And there's so many things happened, so many things that are not radical, but just ultra radical by the standards of matches in the 80s. I thought maybe that's another step in the right direction because we want to make chess, more popular, more attractive. And if players are quite happy, let them do it. I think it definitely makes people more excited and sort of more engaged with the game. So I'm quite happy to embrace changes because I do understand that the strengths of the game of chess that it could always evolve with expectations of the public. So that's why the game survived for so long and it's still quite popular.
So here you are, you're playing Nigel Short just a few short months ago. You've been beating him badly, and now you suddenly get it in your mind to come and make a confessional. You've got one more game.
No, I'm just right now. I wouldn't mind because again, it's just. I'm no longer a professional player, so that's why. Awesome. Just to do confessional when you play fun game, it's probably part of the show.
Right.
But again, trying to look at this from from professional point of view, I think it's it's something that is a demand of time. Yeah, and the players, they're the best players in the world. They should help us, who are just, on other side of the chessboard. So it's to promote the game. And I'm grateful that they understand it and they are open. And I have to give credit to Magnus because I think it's important that Magnus, as a world champion, he's not ducking challenges. Because the world champion is always, it could be a positive threat, a positive factor, or it could be a threat. If he just doesn't want to do anything,
exactly.
If he wants to sort of to enjoy, his benefits and his status, and Magnus, he's always up to the challenge. So that's guarantees that others have no choice but to follow him.
That's right. One round, nobody went to the confessional. When Magnus used it, it was like a flood there. And we have a question from an Indian fan who asks, what do you think of Anand nowadays? He is solid when required, but goes off track when he doesn't hold himself, and he hasn't been in the confessional booth yet. So what do you think about his performance in Norway, where he played great, but then in the last round, he didn't go for that win to try to win that tournament?
Look, with all due respect, I mean, he's not a young man. So that's we have to remember. He's the oldest player in the Grand Prix, and he's Vichy, 46. Okay, well, turning 46, and the very fact that he's here, he's playing. Okay, Norway he played much better than here, and he was a world champion in his 40s. When the competition is much younger, I think that tells a lot about his chess abilities. His strengths. But even with Vichy's composure and his ability sort of to deflect the tension and but it's tough. It's very tough, you know. He's competing with
young boys.
With young boys, you know, they're 20 or more, you know, years younger than he is, and it's, you know, there are also expectations, so it's tough. But you know, we have to give him credit, so that he's there. But 46 is not the right age.
What age did you retire?
I was 41.
Wow!
Yes,
so you retired way too early, Garry.
But it's just that tells you more about, you know, the credit you should give to Vachier for playing so successfully. And
what
also
a
it's not just successfully by just, you know, like Karpov played, you know, for quite a long time,
right.
But the games were not very educational for the professional players. So some tough games, you know, he could go on, but it was more about Karpov's technique. Vachier is playing creative chess.
Yes.
So there are many games where he just comes up with new ideas. So he's still not just, you know, strong player, one of the top players in the world, but he's also, you know, creative force. So you can learn from his game. So he's good with computers, and he's always looking for some new ideas. So that's why, you know, looking at the way he plays the openings, it's still, you know, not just entertaining, but very educational for other players.
And certainly a fan favorite, Anand. We do have an update from Grandmaster Maurice Ashley set up about the Carlsen-Nakamura game, as it looks like Carlsen's advantage keeps increasing. Is that right, Maurice?
Absolutely. He may not be playing the first choice by the computers, but for any human eyes, it looks like he is just putting the big Karpov squeeze on his opponent right now. The move Rook FD8 by Hikaru Nakamura. Here the engine said, just go Bishop A7, no problem. He's going to get one of those pawns as the bishop's going to go back to B6. This line by the engine, which might scare a human to see this position appear on the board with Bishop F4 check. Maybe some tricks, but the computer says no problem. There's no sacrifice at the exchange because the rook is hanging on D8. The A pawn is hanging, and he's just going up 2 pawns. This looked definitive, but Carlsen did not play that line after D5. He played after Rook FD8, he played King to D3 instead, and Nakamura dropped back, went passive with this move, and was met by the move Bishop to D4. So White's forces just keep creeping closer and closer like the Norwegian boogeyman, and I don't know. I don't think that there's almost any chance now as you look at this really wretched position of Nakamura being able to survive. This would be a terrible blow to him as he lost yesterday as well. And Magnus trying to keep pace with Aronian so that he might have a chance in the last round to catch the leader.
Wow, just comprehensive demolition going on here.
Yeah, okay, still, the game is not over. So
no, that's right. Let's go to...
And the material is equal, so it's always important to remember, you know, when material is equal, there's always room for making mistakes.
As we saw yesterday between Grishuk and Magnus, the material is equal. And
but then
something happened to Magnus.
But Magnus was the bad news for Hikaru is that he doesn't have any real chance to get his pieces active. Grishuk pieces were too active, and Magnus didn't like it. You could just I think the move like G4 was I think it was somehow it's a part of his frustration. So that's the game didn't go well. The opponent was active, and extra pawn was enough to win, and he lost.
Badly there. Right? He lost objectivity.
Yes.
Looks like moves are being repeated in the game between Anand and Aronian. We had called this draw prematurely before, but they played knight c5, rook c7, knight a6, rook d7, knight c5, and rook c7 is currently on the board. He just needs to play knight a6 to establish that 3-4 repetition. We should be expecting that move shortly as Aronian is sitting there thinking about whether or not he'll go this route.
Thank you. I wanted to turn to a game of... sorry, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah. The game of Grishuk and MBL, because this is very important. They both have 4 points, so they could come within half a point of the Van.
Gary, I grew up in a age of, I want to say, Soviet chess.
And there it is. It is a draw. Vishy, Anand, and Levan Aronian have drawn this game.
Soviet chess hegemony, dominance, if you will. The best players in the world by far were from the Soviet Union. And today, here we are in the strongest by rating, a 10-player all-play-all ever. One Russian player. What has happened to Russian chess?
Technically, it could be 2 if Kramnik agreed to play. So
yes,
but still, it's different.
It's a far fall. It's a big fall
but
from what it was.
if you are talking about Soviet Union, then you have to include Aronian as well.
Of course. Yeah, that is true.
Yes, that's the
Russian players,
Yes,
I
it's
should more or less say.
Yeah, but Soviet Union, I was born in Baku, so Ivanchuk, from Ukraine, so it's just the strongest, Gal from Belarus, the oldest, strongest, female players from Georgia, so it's,
And another draw, we've got Topalov and So have made a draw.
So 2 games were not too much not too much content in those games.
But Aronian,
excellent.
it was not totally uneventful.
No.
So what's it like to be in St. Louis here? I mean, did you just pay a visit to the World Chess Hall of Fame as well?
Okay, I was there many times, so that's
See the Zama?
Yes.
You felt like you're at home.
No,
almost.
it's here. As I said, it's a great atmosphere for chess. So that's helped me to play Nigel because it's how could you be sort of complacent and not creative by being part of such great chess atmosphere. So it's like I felt obliged to play aggressive chess and just to entertain the public.
You managed. Crowds.
We didn't talk about Soviet players, the Russian players.
Yeah,
it's also about a competition. This is the in the Soviet Union, the chess was a very important factor, social, cultural, and also political factor. There were huge investments by the state, by communist state, to make sure that great talents found. So that's why there was a network, not chess and education. I mean, let's not mix these two things, but to make sure that the talent almost from anywhere could be noticed and eventually brought into the system and given an opportunity to realize his or her potential. It has gone with the collapse of the Soviet Union, but it's happening now in other countries. I mean, look at the exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It's just
India, China, all around the world.
China, but China it's a more likely Soviet model. Here in America is different, but it's just game is gaining ground. So I just heard about there's the great stories about a 5-year-old Chinese girl, from Texas here.
Wow.
Yes.
Rachel,
yeah,
right?
Rachel,
you beat Rex.
Rex, but also Tony. Yes. Yeah, she did. So she, a 5-year-old girl, beat 2,000 players. So now, it's not accidental because she could have been, hiding as a talent in the middle of nowhere because parents didn't even think about the game of chess. But now chess has become a factor. Mm-hmm. So parents looking for chess as a potential option for their kids. So which means more kids, especially from the Asian families, so the Latinos families. So that's where people just looking for every chance for their kids to sort of the
opportunity.
Opportunity. And this is a country with 310 million people. Yeah. So there's so much talent, and and also so many the mixed marriages. So it creates big opportunity. So the moment chess is being considered by 5% of this population.
What a great success. And how many millions?
Exactly. This is
15 million people.
Yes. It's the advantage of the Soviet Union was, that we had millions of kids that could go through the network. And you look at the former Soviet Union, one of the most successful countries, was Armenia, with 3.5 million people because chess was mandatory in the schools for a few years. And Armenia with such a small population, won 3 chess Olympiads. Ukraine won 2, Russia won none since I left Russian team. So so it just tells you that it's what's important is not just you have massive population like in China. It's about number of kids that are interested in the game and parents that would love their kids to have this new extra opportunity.
Well, I know you work with the Young Stars program, the partnership by the St. Louis Chess Club and the Kasparov Chess Foundation. Which kids really stand out to you?
Look, we already have, just from the Young Star program, we already have 3 Grandmasters. I think there's the fourth ones on we have Caden Trove, Sam Sivian, Jeffrey Young, and
Jeffrey got his Grandmaster title.
of course,
now.
yes, yes,
Really?
yes,
Okay, Chicago.
yes. So that yes,
This year?
yes,
A few months ago.
yes. And Akshat, we just is Chandra. He's I think he's already made enough norms. Now he needs ratings.
Just to get us
exactly.
signal.
So he will be there soon. And Sam is great. So I think it's just he's gaining experience. He's just 14, and he has a very bright future. But the very fact that we have already so many grandmasters, just to compare. In the United Kingdom, the country that once was, it's the second strongest chess country in the world, just 30 years ago, 1986, they were second in the Chess Olympiad in Dubai. They have no IMs, up to the age 18.
That's shocking.
Young IMs, yes.
That's really shocking.
Yes.
No developments going on in the UK at all.
Yeah, it's because, and it's not a small country. You're still talking about tens of millions of people.
Exactly.
And also chess traditions, but no chess programs, no enthusiasm, it will change because you already have now the big programs in the schools, so that you will see more coming out, but it takes time. Here in America, this is work done predominantly here in St. Louis, already, reaping benefits from all over the country.
And how do you think you stop the kids from, so many of them are so smart and end up doing things outside chess, even if they're very talented at a young age? If chess offers them, an opportunity, so there will be great temptations to stay in. So what we always missed is a chance for kids, to realize their potential in the game of chess, because they want to be successful, and the chess didn't look like a game where the game that they could rely on as the success story for the future. So the opportunities here at the club is actually a great start.
Absolutely.
And we do have, we're getting our first interview of the day set up, or actually not our first interview, our first Sinquefield Cup player interview. As you want to take a quick look and see how Carlsen and Nakamura
I have it
is
on
progressing.
our board. Yeah, King E4 was the last move of Magnus, by the way. This is a dream position because it seems like you can win it on any side of the board.
The problem is what's the black's next move? You can play G4. You can play,
you
now
can win
C4 is a threat.
Exactly.
Eventually C4 is a threat.
And taking advantage of that pin.
Exactly.
So you think it's a busto Nakamura?
There's shouting but no kicking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Screaming.
Screaming and no kicking.
And we have Vishy Anand ready with Grandmaster Maurice Ashley to talk about today's game.
Well, from one former world champion to the other, Viswanathan, a five-time former world champion. Today, Vishy, you had an interesting game where everyone, including former champ Garry Kasparov, said, "What's Vishy doing? He's just giving the guy center pawns everywhere." Did you prepare this line? Well, I know you must have prepared the line. What were your thoughts going into this line that to everyone else optically looked bad for black?
I must admit it took me some convincing as well, but I checked it and it looked kind of okay. In fact, it's not very easy for white to get these pawns rampaging. So, well, I played rook b8 to fight against the center. I want to play b5, b4. He went e5, which was quite clever. I took, and then we got this endgame. Well, there are lots of interesting moves on the way, but basically we got to this endgame where I have to sit tight. But it's not easy for him to break through because when he exchanges pieces, he suddenly finds himself a pawn down again. So as long as his pieces are very active, and I have to be very passive, but he can't trade that into anything. So that it looked solid, but we'll have to go and check to see if that impression was correct.
You had a chance to play spoiler to him today in some way, but you did have the black pieces. Tomorrow, you'll most likely, if Carlsen wins today, play spoiler, have the potential to play spoiler to him, and he's going to have to come after you if he has any chance of winning the competition. What's your mindset in going into that last round game?
Well, I haven't had a chance to think about it yet, but obviously seeing the way today's game is going, I'll have to get ready for a big fight tomorrow.
we have Garry Kasparov here. You've had a world championship match against him in legendary battles, of course, for years and years. What's the feeling now playing, it's been years, but playing in front of such an illustrious champion? And a former rival, of course.
It still takes some getting used to him as a spectator. But maybe commentator is more fun thing. I mean, he has interesting insights. It'll be fun to hear him. But, well, we've had 10 years to get used to him not playing.
Well, thank you so much, and we hope to see some fireworks in your game tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thank you, Maurice. Thank you, Vichy. 10 years to get used to you're not playing. It seems hard to get used to that because
Hey, you just played here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well, he's
fun.
playing exhibition.
But
It's
still, that was
very,
very cool.
pleasant ones. Just a quick question to you. When you have such a dream position like this, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I can win it on the queen side by preparing c4, or I can just actually run my opponent out of moves.
But Magnus is more sort of
Precise.
concrete, precise, because, I mean, look, bishop on c6,
It's
just
powerful.
cuts both rooks, from getting active. So, I think naturally Magnus wants to play c4 as soon as he can. He doesn't have to rush. He can, as you're right, he could just simply push pawns, g4, h4, h5, just, to...
Helpless opponent.
Because, black is totally helpless. So, again, king e4 is not forced. So, but, it's very hard to criticize white so far. So
No
I mean,
criticism.
just for white, to blow it up, just they should do something, very, very, I mean, stupid. Yes. Yeah, and it seems that Magnus, enjoys himself. And
What was your reaction to the game between Carlsen and Seirawan, that wacky time scramble? Were you watching live during that time, and what was your take?
I watched live, and it's because there were delays. I couldn't even understand what's happened because it changed so just in the last few minutes.
Yeah,
there were so many changes, and suddenly you say it's 0-1, and I just because. I mean, I just didn't even understand instinctively, you put a queen on e4, so that's what you instinctively do. But that's what that's what I told Maurice today. I think it's the young players. They have huge problem of playing without increments. Without increments, because I think Caruana suddenly realized that he has few seconds left, because normally you make a move and 30 extra seconds, and if you have 2 minutes for 5 moves, it's not the end of the story.
Right.
But suddenly when you have 2 minutes for 5 moves and no increments, and position is too complicated, and he ended up with what? 5 seconds left for
even less
for last 2 moves.
Seconds,
for the last 2 moves.
Yes.
Oh,
So it's the and it's maybe in blitz, he would play queen e4 because it's so natural. But in classical chess, just you want to keep control of d1 square, because you control is lost completely. And Magnus was lucky. And Fabian was not lucky, so maybe it was compensation for last year. Just if you believe in karma. Yes.
So kids should be playing the aspiring kids who are watching this should be playing blitz so that they can practice for situations like that.
Yeah, but it's not so much about blitz, but about increments.
Yes,
it's about you having extra time for each move you make. It's about like a premium for the. I think it's probably you should now play with increments all the games, because otherwise it puts them in very disadvantageous position.
All right.
We have our tournament leader.
Our tournament leader, Levon Aronian, is with Maurice Ashley.
The jovial Armenian Levon Aronian, 1.5 points currently ahead of the field, but that gap looks like it might shrink depending on the result of the game between Carlsen and Nakamura. Today's game, we were all saying, look at that center you have. White looks beautiful, but you weren't able to make anything out of it. What happened?
Yeah, I actually loved my position, but I have analyzed something similar, and black can afford to play like that, although it looks very dangerous. I think I couldn't really remember how to proceed after queen d6. I thought what I did was more or less logical, but then this endgame, I really underestimated the defensive resource for black. What I thought during the game that would be interesting, at the moment when he played rook a b8, maybe I could play queen b5. I'm asking him to play a6.
So we have the board
Yeah.
here. You're saying queen b5.
And then to go for the same position with the pawn on a6, which might make a difference. I mean, in the long run.
That's quite a nuanced idea to have this happen. So this exact same
Yeah.
position with knight to d2.
But I thought people will start laughing at me, so I didn't play it. Yeah, there was knight a7, maybe. Yeah.
So this line, I see Kasparov is in the studio and he's eager to show a couple of ideas as well. But you're worried about the audience laughing at you when you're making moves?
Not really. I just said that for you guys.
So this result then, not exactly the one you wanted, to completely put away everyone in the competition, pretty much.
Sure.
Clearly, though, you're still in the driver's seat, although you will have to face off against Vasyl Topalov tomorrow. What do you think about that matchup?
It's a regular game. I like Vasylin's chess, so let's see how it goes.
Tell me your record against Vasyl over the years. How have you guys fared?
I think I'm in minus against him, yeah. Maybe -3 or even more, I don't remember.
So he'll be a tough competitor tomorrow.
Definitely.
The position that Magnus has against Nakamura, I asked you about it. You seem optimistic about Carlsen's chances.
Yeah, it looks like White will win the game because his pieces are centralized, while Black has a stranded bishop on a4, so it shouldn't be too difficult, I'm guessing.
Final question, we have Garry Kasparov in the studio. Some people asked about who they thought, if they could take a player from the past and bring them to the present and play in the Sinquefield Cup. What was your answer? Was your answer Fischer, or was it?
Yeah, I said Fischer because it's a super tournament in the United States, a tournament that Fischer didn't have a chance to play. At his time, there were no big sponsors like Sinquefield family, to sponsor it. So that would have been fun. But
Garry in his prime?
Saying that,
what do you think his chances would be in his prime? Garry Kasparov at his best.
well, in my opinion, Garry is the strongest player of all times. I think.
You're not just saying that because
No,
right
by
there.
far. No, I share that opinion with everybody, by far, because there are not many players in history that had a great working team, a discipline, and also a very beautiful style of chess, with many strategical ideas. So, yeah, definitely my favorite player.
Wow. Well, we hope you can have a positive result the way he used to have great results as you finish this tournament off. Congratulations on where you are right now, and
Thank
best
you.
of luck in your final game.
Thank you very much.
Levon Aronian, always want to speak his mind, and with a twist as well. Right?
I think he was saying you would win the Sinquefield Cup if you were in your prime. I think he was intimating.
Who would you
that
pick if you could pull one player out of the past, out of history, and
you
put
would
into
like
the
to
Sinquefield
have
Cup?
played against?
Here in Sinquefield Cup? No.
No, just in general. Like,
Oh, I meant the
you're-
Sinquefield Cup.
Oh, sorry.
No, you might know this. Just two different questions.
Ask, ladies first.
No, look, I think Karpov in his prime would be, look, he was a very strong player.
Oh, yes, he was.
Yes, I would say Karpov 74, 75, even before when he played Spassky.
Yeah, he was just so
So
good.
that's the. For fun, Tal 1959.
Yeah.
Plenty of fun. So I couldn't agree more with Levon that Fischer again playing in America. Though again, I should probably correct him. Piatigorsky 1966. He did play a super tournament, and he was second to Spassky.
And we had a show about that recently at the World Chess Hall of Fame.
Right.
And you were asking who he'd like to play from
of
history, like Morphy, all the way back.
all of your predecessors that come to your mind, who would you like to sit down and have a dinner with and perhaps play a blitz game with?
Dinner was Lasker probably.
Dinner with Lasker?
Yes. The blitz. Maybe it was Young Tal.
Alakine?
it's too. I mean, it's just playing with these people. It's somehow it just doesn't work in my mind. So how can you?
But young Tom.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So
In fact, you played blitz with Tom.
but not with a young Tal. So
But not with the young
It was so
Tal.
difficult. This Tal. And it was the way he played. It was entertaining.
That's what Grishuk said. And actually, we do have a player who just stepped into the confessional booth.
Okay.
So let's hear what he's saying.
Yeah, game seems very drawish. There probably is a concrete way for White to force a draw to win the B pawn, but I'll try to make a few more moves. It's actually a bit miraculous that he even let me win a pawn in the first place. I mean, it was just a dead draw before, but he probably blundered rook e2. Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. I feel like it should probably be very drawish.
Startling confession.
Yeah, well, by the way, this is suddenly the game that was a dead draw. So, and we thought it would be one of the first to end. It's still there. By the way, it shows the spirit of the tournament. It's still, just that they play, just not to the last pawn, but to the last chance. And
Speaking of the spirit of the tournament, we've got another guest, Veselin Topalov, the leader of the Grand Chess Tour after Norway, and with so many decisive results in this tournament. He's with Maurice Ashley.
The Bulgarian superstar Veselin Topalov, another former world champion with us. You just throw a rock and you can hit a world champion in this place. Veselin, today's game played very quickly. At one point, your opponent had more time than he started with, but not much content that you can really chew on in this game.
Well, that is actually true. Of course, I didn't expect, as usual, the opening. And then made a mistake at the beginning, because the way it happened, it was just very easy for White, and he was pressing for free. Maybe it was never too much, but of course that was not my dream. Of course, my intention was to get some playable position, but he was very solid, and well, he didn't play bad moves, but I think he missed some chance to push a bit more. But still, probably it was never too much. I believe at the beginning I shouldn't have played with the knight in the center, knight e4, and then he changed and he got a very comfortable position.
You started the tournament in meteoric fashion, and then you had a couple of bad games. Now you've drawn a few, and it seems like you're coasting toward the end. But tomorrow you have a very big game that could shake up all the standings against Levon Aronian. What are your thoughts going into the last round, especially since you're the leader of the Grand Chess Tour right now?
Well, not really. I don't feel it's so special. Of course, for Levon it's important, but I'm not really fighting now for the victory of this tournament. So for me it's not so important. I mean, but still, of course, even if I don't win, I think Magnus has a chance to tie with Levon, so we could see a tie break. And
are you saying you don't see this game as something that you're going to come in with passion to play?
No, of course. But I mean, it's not, when you fight for the first place in the tournament, it's completely different. Then even if I win, I think I'll be on the top, but not a winner.
Big deal for the Grand Chess Tour eventually, potentially.
Well,
though.
but
You
still,
might
and
still
if
be fighting
everything
for that.
will be decided in London, I don't think we should already make calculations. You know, I don't even know which game and which result is better for me. Should Magnus win or should Levon win? I don't care actually, because with 9 rounds to go, still, you know, many things will happen, and there are many unexpected results.
There was a question that was asked to you guys about if you had to bring a past player into the present and play in the Sinquefield Cup, which player would you choose? What was your answer to that? Do you remember?
I already said it was definitely going to be Fischer, because he stopped when he was too young, and we miss the games he never played. But yeah, and also he's American.
Now, Garry Kasparov in his absolute prime, you've played him at that point. How do you think he would fare at his prime, at his peak, in a tournament like this one?
Well, normally maybe he won dozens of super tournaments when you had like the ratings from 1 to 10. So in his peak he would crush. The question is, I would actually like to see all these champions in their peaks playing each other, but just it's impossible.
What a fantasy that would be. Well, Veselin, thanks for joining us, and we hope for some passionate fireworks tomorrow against Aroni in the last game.
I'll try.
Guys, back to you.
Thank you,
And
some developments going on between Magnus and Hikaru.
Magnus was forcing the crisis, so he just...
Garry was a little bit questioning. C3, C4 is the type of move you can play whenever, and he did it right away. He could first grab some space on the king side, F4, G3, G4.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to.
He just went directly, and
Bishop A7, yeah.
he's given some resources, but the main line that Garry wanted to show was that after bishop c3,
Rook takes a4.
rook takes a4, bishop takes
Yeah, that's
b2,
CB5, yes, that's easy.
c takes b5, and that was easy. So then the other line that you suggested
Bishop A4, bishop, yes,
was this one.
yes.
Rook takes a4, takes,
A3.
a3, d6, a2,
These
f5 check.
bishop F6, and almost, but
Just when you're ready, reaching for the queen, right?
yes.
Bishop e5. Okay,
yes.
so still Magnus in control.
Yes.
Maybe he went a little bit, but it looks like
But
it's
are they
still.
playing? So this is they made few. Yes.
No, I think that was just our main line.
No, but no, they played it.
Did they really?
No, look, bishop C rook takes A4, right?
So they had played
Yes.
our main
Yes,
line, just
rook
what we
rook
just
A4.
showed.
And
That would be a nice finish, by the way.
yeah, but it's a so that's the.
Two things I wanted to ask you. First of all, did you notice that coming into the tournament, there were 5? Think about that. 5 players over 2,800. That's like ridiculous. 5 players over 2,800. 4 of them are in the second half of the group, the second half in the tournament. Only Magnus is with the plus score. 4 players. Topalov,
Yeah.
Caruana,
Caruana.
Hikaru, and Vichy
Yes.
have a minus.
Yeah, but look, it's you have players, just of 27, 50 plus category, and most of them, they
World-class
they're
can
world
beat
class
it.
players. But it's not just about rating; it's about sort of experience. Because, for instance, Saw is also very high, but you clearly could see in this tournament that he lacks experience. He never played such a strong opposition. And it's not just about the rating today, but it's about the how many games you played at the top level. So Aronin is 27.65. I mean, come on, that's
Yes.
but, you can easily imagine, sort of
feels like a
Topalov on there,
typo.
and Aronin is in 2,800 plus.
Right.
Well, I think it's a year ago or so they were just in similar positions. So
Exactly.
yeah, so that's why I wouldn't be so addicted to look at the rating and make projections based purely on this mathematical calculations. Again, we all know how strong is Aronian, we all know how strong is Grishuk, and it's and there will be probably reshuffling of rating points and just making players sort of before the final Grand Prix in London. It's just more in the equal positions. But 2,800 plus players, there's so many of them. It just shows basically the inflation. When I crossed 2,800, I was the only one on 2,800. And Karpov was the only one in 2,700. And maybe Ivanchuk crossed, for just so there were 2,700 was just almost a desert. Now you have dozens of players in 2,700. So it just tells you that inflation, which is inevitable. So it makes corrections and Fischer would not make top 10 now. He's 27.85. But you just heard Veselin talking about the world champions at their peaks.
Yes, what it meant. Your vision for the Grand Chess Tour. This is our inaugural year. You've got 3 great events. But what do you see next year, the years thereafter?
No, I think it's the Grand Chess Tour is a success because you could see the fighting chess. You can see the quality chess. You get a lot of entertainment, and it's something that has been missing for a long time. Also, with the 2-year cycle for the world title, it's very important that every year you have something that puts world champion, not a title, but his reputation at stake. And the very fact that Magnus is happy to play in this tournament, that's already, it's a big contribution to the success of the series. I believe that we can grow. So the Grand Chess Tour can grow beyond these 3 initial tournaments in Norway, here in St. Louis, Missouri, and in London. I will not even exclude it in the future. The Grand Prix could be a combination of classical and rapid and blitz tournaments, because you just can show this is, again, the beauty of the game of chess. So when you have more events, you can actually experiment with having some of them, shorter version, that's because it's also a problem of the calendar. So if you want to have 6 events, it will be almost impossible to squeeze them into the calendar, especially in the year with the World Championship candidates. So that's why you may look for, for future entries that could be a rapid blitz combination that is, it's a 5-6 days event.
And Rookie 4 actually did not happen. Instead, it looks like we got a F5 check thrown in by Nakamura. Is that helping him at all, Maurice?
Well, certainly a big development there. There's a small nuance that you have to see, and Magnus Carlsen did avoid it. The move F5 was tossed in. Hikaru Nakamura is a big tactician, and he is playing for tricks to try to calm this position down. If you grab this pawn, yeah, yummy, let me grab that. You go down this variation, and when you get there after C takes B5, you suddenly see the move Rook takes on B5 appear on the board, where it captures. Does not help at all. Rook takes, and suddenly Black is back and happy to see this position. He might lose the A pawn, but so what? He's going to have a nice draw with 3 against 2 on this side. So that line after F5, Magnus avoided that variation to play the move King to F3, and now we're waiting for him to play his move. Again, we can see this variation work itself out. Rook takes on B2, bishop to C3, and now it's quite a different position. The king is not up as it was, but it still looks like it's very good for white. Not as easy with this A pawn and this control, but the engines are definitely saying still winning for white. And in fact, putting the move bishop takes B8 on the board and saying that this line should be very strong and hard to resist, even in the bishop opposite color position. The engines like white here. We'll see whether or not Magnus goes for this line, or even if Hikaru plays the move bishop to C3. Now that he's said A with F5, maybe he'll say B with the bishop move.
Not so clean, not so clean.
No, but
He
that actually adds power to the argument that at one point white could play G4, so just to gain space on the king side.
Keep your opponent restricted.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely, yes, to restrict the options, yes.
Yeah.
But with all Hikaru's proneness in tactics,
You don't think he's getting out? He's not wiggling his way out of this one?
No,
not at all.
The odds are not in his favor.
So what else are you excited about coming up for you, Garry? What's up next for you?
I mean, it's in chess or elsewhere.
Either, both.
Yeah, no, it's
Both.
my book will be released. Winter is coming. So
Game
it's,
of Thrones?
it's about politics, of course. Yes,
Politics.
geopolitics. It's about the lessons of the Cold War and the post-Cold War world, and so it will be released at the end of October here in the United States, in the UK, and in many other European countries. So that it took time. So,
Oh, yes.
I keep
So you're
working
gonna
on promoting chess in schools. That's that's part of my agenda. It's on the regular basis. I have a lot of lectures on strategy, tactics, innovations. Of course, part of this, the book project is the book tour. So I'll be visiting different cities. Yeah. So I'm scheduled to appear in Boston, Harvard. So in Georgetown, in DC, in Penn, in Philadelphia. I will be here in St. Louis, in Kansas City, in Chicago, in San Francisco, in LA. So
Busy
I have a lot of
schedule.
travel, yes, before the end of the year. So I'm always busy. So
And you're going to be back here in just a few days, right?
of course, no, I'll be here for all the moves. So that's
moves,
another story. So
yes.
I have to go back to New York. I have a speech there on September 2nd. So I have to go back tonight. But on early morning on the 3rd, I'll be here just to make a few moves.
Are you aware that there will be a premiere here in St. Louis of a movie called Pawn Sacrifice?
Yeah, I saw
which
the
features
yes.
Tobey Maguire.
Yes,
Right.
yes. I read about the movie, and so I will be curious to see the way they put
Portray.
they portrayed the whole story and the Fisher character on the big screen
Yeah, I'm more than curious too. You'll join us for the premiere, perhaps?
on the third.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Excellent,
Yes, of
excellent,
course. Yes.
excellent,
Is your
excellent.
team going to win this year?
And ultimate moves. That was the question.
Okay.
You feel the competitive
I did-
juices
look,
already.
look,
feel-
I did well last year. I remember. Yes,
you
I
did your part.
Yes.
Here it is. We've got Team Rex versus Team Randy. That's Rex Sinquefield versus Randy Sinquefield. And of course, the exciting part about that is we're going to have players from the Sinquefield Cup participating in this both tandem and group chess game. It was really exciting last year. And in addition to the players in the Sinquefield Cup, Garry Kasparov will be returning to the club to participate in that. So you're not going to want to miss that. That's on Thursday, and it will be at our usual time of 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And we've got Maurice Ashley with an update on a very big game, Carlsen Nakamura.
Still following this game, and Nakamura playing trickster right now. Look at this position, which the engine is saying is completely winning for white, but I'd love to hear Kasparov's opinion on this position. Nakamura just played after this king f3 move. He just played the move rook b c8, and almost forcingly, if he wants to get any kind of edge, the engine say, take the pawn. Looks kind of obvious, but bishop takes b5 changes the situation dramatically, takes, and now bishop to c3, looking to pick up one of these rooks. Either way you play, you bring it back, take the rook, take, and now rook takes d5, and it's two bishops against a rook or two rooks and 4 pawns. You get the piece distribution. Correct apparently is rook takes on a5, and now king f8, and you look at this position and you say, yeah, but it doesn't look like it used to. Is this position actually winning the two bishops against the rook and pawns on the exact same side? Garry?
Even if it's winning, which it's already a question mark. I mean, definitely Magnus did something wrong, because it's just, if Hikaru survives for this for so many moves, and the game will end up with this rook versus two bishops,
On the same side.
three versus three pawns on one side. That means that white
Failed.
Yeah, it's failed. It's he rushed. As I said, he was trying to win, quickly, and that probably shows that he's nervous. So it's not accidental that he made mistakes here and there. So he's nervous. He's just instead of just simply keeping opponent under pressure and then just
What we call softly milking the
exactly, yeah,
position.
but just instinctively when after F5 you don't have to go king F3. That is, you did something wrong. So because you don't want your king is dominating the center. So and you allow these chances. So instinctively you would like to start with G4 because black had they had no moves. I mean, it's just you could have instead of here, C4 instead of C4 here, you could have played
G4,
G4
F4,
maybe,
H4,
H4,
lots
yes.
of useful
Yes,
moves to
yes.
improve the position
Yes.
before making final execution.
Exactly, absolutely, yes. So just H4, F4, F5. So this is you could have totally paralyzed black.
Exactly.
And black has played those moves, and we are going to see this endgame appear on the board, and it looks as though Magnus has definitely allowed a lot of his chances to dissipate here in the position, and now he's going to have to win a position that does not look anything like the dominance he had just a few moves ago.
So what kind of games should we study? Those of us at home who rush our attacks too much, whose games should we study? Which section of my great predecessors?
Petrosian, Smyslov, Karpov.
Yeah.
So it was the. Actually, Magnus, was very good in just, in playing this, with this style.
Technical
Yes, the
chess.
technical chess. I think it's nervousness. I think it's just, he's young, he can recover after losing games, because, it's just he has a lot of energy and a great chess talent. But even for him, it's hard to forget, that is, I had great chances, and I just, and it's these games they leave they always leave scarves.
Yes.
Yeah. So and you can see today. I mean, it's total dominance, a lot of time, and it was almost a desert, for blacks. So there's no resources, and we have to give credit to Hikaru. He hasn't lost. Even playing against the opponent that was so dominant in their games.
Mm-hmm.
So Hikaru, was not throwing the white towel. So he was fighting, and whether he will be rewarded, I don't know. But definitely there will be a long game.
Quick question for you in this game, Garry. We saw that position where you imagine two bishops versus rook, 3 pawns on the same side of the board.
But Magnus has to take the pawn on a5 because looks a little bit.
That's the question I have for you.
I don't think that's how it worked out. We have a couple more moves.
What about rook b1, bishop takes b2, rook takes b2?
This is what happened.
And instead of forcing, let me play with the two rooks.
I agree. I think that's now looking at this. Yes, I think this is the pawn on a5 is not that dangerous, but having rook, exactly. It's more than a pawn.
Yeah.
So because rook and two bishop is huge.
Versus just having only the two bishops.
Yes, and I think that's I think it's
correct decision by Magnus.
It's a correct decision. Yes, it's a correct decision, and still again, it might well be that Hikaru's. All the tricks that he found may not be enough, but still, it's not elementary.
But Magnus did not play that way. He has allowed a potential rook exchange. He did play instead in this position quite quickly with tons and tons of time on his clock. He did not play bishop a4. He played the move bishop back to e3. And bishop e3, of course, allows rook to b8 in the position. He will be able to play bishop to c4, winning the rook, of course, on d5. But now it's going to be two bishops against a rook and pawn. The Indians still like the two bishops, but that just seems like an absolutely bizarre decision with 43 minutes on his clock to play into this line.
No,
very strange play by the world champion.
That tells you that he's not.
And instantly rook b8, you see that, and look at Magnus kind of holding his head.
Yeah, but 43 minutes. So as the.
Look at him. You can see it. Sorry, Garry, but you also wore your emotions on your sleeve like Magnus is doing it. When you realized that you missed a powerful shot, it was like, ooh.
That was so simple. I mean, this is the.
So this is this?
Yeah, rook b8.
Rook b8.
Because otherwise it's completely illogical to go for this.
There he goes. He's
but he just at least you could have a pawn on a5.
You could take it off.
Yeah, you can just without the pawn on a5.
The same position. So now Hikaru's getting real opportunity to climb back into this game from a position. I don't want to say he was in Zugzwang, but it really felt
A4,
awful.
The pawn is coming.
I understand.
Pawn a4, a3.
Yeah. Magnus just blew it today. This was just amazing. And against one of his best customers of all time,
It's a draw.
Wow.
No, it's a draw because he'll win the
F5 pawn, give up a bishop.
Yes, it will be.
Get 3.
So your explanation for this blunder, just nervousness?
No, it's just something is wrong. I think he couldn't control his emotions. From
yesterday? Carry over from yesterday?
Yeah, but it's probably it's some kind of cumulative effect, because it started with the Topalov game in Norway.
Round 1.
The tournament was bad. He started this tournament, and again, is a deadly blow. Just from Topalov's game.
Yeah.
So he recovered. He was almost there, and then was Grishuk. This emotional breakdown. Mm-hmm. And today, he played well. It was everything went his way. And suddenly, I think he was very upset. That he missed f5, and he didn't like it because he knew he was completely winning, and he blundered f5, so that he gave Nakamura a little chance to be in the game.
Right.
And you could see his reaction is that he couldn't control his emotions. Instead of normally what you do, okay, it's easy to advise.
Yes, yeah.
Normally what you should do is you take a deep breath, so that's you have plenty of time. You relax. You just go back and you try to understand. So I also thought just taking pawn on a5, playing bishop, two bishops versus rook, is 3-on-3, which is still, it's maybe even winning. Because pawn on f5 is just, it's a weakness. So that's, I think, probably winning. But then you made a good recommendation, and it took me a few seconds to understand, wow, this is exactly what you should do. Forget pawn on a5, make sure rook is there.
On the board.
Magnus made this decision because he put bishop on a3, and then he wanted to, his instincts were right, but he just totally forgot about rook b8, which shows that he's
something's not completely going on there. Well, that was, by the way, one of the things that I felt was sorry to Jen, that was one of Karpov's great strengths, is somehow throughout most of his career in the games you see, he keeps objectivity even when somehow things didn't go his way. He really made it difficult. He was always objective player, one of remarkable Karpov. It was incredible. Sorry, Jennifer.
Well, I was just saying that Grishik and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave have repeated moves a couple times, so it looks like that is headed towards a draw as well. I know that Magnus...
We'll have 5 draws today.
What a day, what a bloody round for you to come comment on.
What you brought calm and serenity.
Calming influence.
And Anish, what's about Anish?
Anish is still playing.
Anish is still playing.
For that game also, earlier, Fabiano went into the confessional booth and said that Anish erred earlier with the move rook e2. He didn't like 28 rook e2. He said that allowing 28 rook e2 made things a little bit tougher for Anish.
So you probably didn't like knight f3.
Knight b3 here.
Knight b3 was as simple as it could possibly have been. I mean, that would have been easy.
And that's what he was saying in the confessional booth.
Rook e2 gave him a chance, and I just get to the position.
Well, so this is the...
By the way, Anish, how would you rate his chance? I mean, first, a very young man. He's undefeated with the exception of this game in the whole World Chess Tour. He's grown as a defensive player, and he's
a defensive player. I think he's a cautious player. So I wouldn't say defensive. He can play quite aggressive chess.
Yeah.
He's very solid. He's well prepared. Maybe he's not too ambitious. So that's again a bit. But somehow it helps him because he doesn't over push.
Mm-hmm.
So he keeps his objectivity. Yeah, and it's very, very solid performance.
You see him as a potential world chess champion
challenger,
contender?
He needs to be more ambitious. So he's top 10. He's solid top 10, but to be top 2,
yes.
Yeah, it's quite a jump. So he should leap forward, and you need not just chess preparation, but also more of psychological strengths.
Well, look at that shirt. Isn't that daring?
I thought it was Maurice's tie that was daring, by the way. Magnus Carlsen's going to defend his title upcoming. Who do you see as his biggest threat?
Now, today's game is another proof. His biggest threat is Magnus Carlsen. It's very, very clear. It's all about him. So if he doesn't come back, with his strengths, with his sort of zone of comfort, anybody could challenge him. Actually, his second match was Anand. He was not as convincing as the first one. I think but he's still dominant. So he's now playing a very dangerous pool, of predators.
Yes,
and they all not just can smell his blood. Many of them tasted his blood. So it's a dangerous sign. So that's why he should make sure that for the time when he defends his title, whoever it is, Caruana, it could be any player.
Who do you want to see? If you
Fabiano has definitely tasted his blood.
Caruana is probably most natural, So just when you look at it's at the top list of the players, but it could be almost anybody. I think Caruana will be just an interesting match. Yes.
There could be many interesting matches, but you're right, that idea of tasting his blood, they can sense that it's not the Magnus that was dominating every tournament that he participated in, like Beijing and others, where he just had phenomenal results.
We had a couple questions from the,
sure,
the
Twitter
Twitter
feed,
audience.
sure.
Somebody asked, I know that physical training has always been important to you. How much has that changed for the current generation? Is it even more important?
I have no idea. So this is you should ask these players. I always thought it was vitally important, especially because I played long matches, very long matches with Karpov, and being physically fit, was a very important part of of also psychological preparation, because it could boost my confidence.
What was your favorite sport, by the way? Were you a swimmer? Were you a tennis player?
No, it's I did the gym and also rowing.
Oh, rowing!
So
Excellent.
Rowing,
Excellent.
wow. And
Is a big-
Rishik MBO, they have, it looks like they
Have they repeated?
not yet, but it looks like they've repeated yet another time, and that game's going to be declared drawn soon.
All right. Again, I'm coming back to this game of Magnus,
Still hard to believe.
Bishop d4. I was expecting King f4. Were you also expecting?
He's now trying. Will try to win the 8 pawn. So, but I don't believe he can just win the 8 pawn and bring the king there.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. You're thinking that he's going.
Oh no, he's going to bring his king on the king side, because he wants to win this pawn, protecting these pawns there, and. But he could have this position without pawn.
H4, G3,
no. He could have this position without a pawn.
Pawn, yes.
Yes, he could have taken this pawn.
Long time ago. But Gary, I'm feeling that this is more drawing than winning chances. Rook b5, very annoying. You can't put your bishop.
Bishop b6.
Bishop e6.
Yes.
Edgar 6. Okay, let me get that.
d3.
And let me get that guy as far up the board as I
King
possibly.
e3 is first led.
Oh, sorry. Oh, King e. Oh,
left.
it didn't go. Sorry, excuse me. King e3, a3.
King
yeah.
d3.
King d3. Yeah.
So,
And you just want to push my rook somewhere away. Okay, so I'll fall for it, I guess. Rook behind.
bishop a2.
Right. Now it's time that I do something on the king side, right?
Yeah, but,
What do you
my
think?
king is there. I mean, that's just the whole point. My king is there.
So you got to go all the way over. Take the pawn.
I think it's not going to work. But it's just
That's his
no,
idea.
No. This is that I'm saying what his idea is.
Yes.
It's not going to work because there are too many pawns on the potential targets for the attack, for the rook.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
If you were to give, well, you do it all the time, inspiring talks to young players who have had a heartfelt defeat, right? Because it happens at Scholastics chess. It's really, really, really tough. What do you tell them after they've had this heartfelt defeat? What do they have to do to recover?
We're all different. So it's this
It's
there is no universal advice, and that's it's all about knowing, sort of your own strengths and weaknesses, because something that I may recommend could work for one player, but to be totally counterproductive for other player, because I will be giving an experience based on advice based on my own experience. Yes, and it's not the end of the world. I mean, that's the yes. Even if you lose the game.
The reason I ask such a sensitive, tender question, because I have this wonderful story. Gary may well remember it, but for me it was something exceptionally special. It was Vachier-Lagrave, and Gary was playing in the tournament, and one of his key rivals, Vasily Vonchuk, had lost that round against Vladimir Kramnik in a wild, wild game. Gary had asked me something, and he needed to ask me a question, and as things happened, it ended up that Gary and Vasily left the playing hall together. It was a snowstorm, and there was snow falling. It was crunchy white snow. It was a very quiet night. And I ran up to catch up to Gary, and the two of you were talking in Russian, very, very softly together. And, of course, I could understand that you were making some suggestions of chess moves. And at various moments, Vasily, who was really, really, really suffering this horrible loss, would stop And then you would go, by the time you landed at the hotel, the man was smiling. He had recovered whatever it was you were talking about. And here was a big, big rival, but you were lifting him up. It was quite a remarkable moment for me.
Yeah, I don't think he was a rival in this tournament. But it's look, you know, he played an interesting game. He wanted to talk, and I was, we had very good, solid relations with Vasily. So we were rivals, but there was no animosity.
Not at all. But I think that you really did have something special that lifted his spirits, and that was very powerful. It was special for me. I was very happy to be a witness. Sorry.
By the way, the Magnus did exactly played. You know, this is
the same.
So
just what
we could replace them. You know.
Let's not say that.
I think a lot of people like that. We will see that in Ultimate Moves. Don't forget on Thursday. Meanwhile, Garry Kasparov said in the confessional he thought he had a little shot, but probably it would be a draw. How's that going, Maurice? Any chances for Fabi?
Yes, it's Gary. It's the illusion of commentators. We always see better moves than the players. It's so relaxing back here. Well, certainly this position is starting to look up for Black. Black looks like he could go down a very nice line that wins a pawn, but is it enough to win the game? Let's get your Grandmasterly and World Champion advice, Gary and Yaz. He played the move Rook C3, which the Indians hate. Immediately, they see problems with this move here, Rook to F5, which Caruana actually played. Now, pinning hit the knight. First, it was Black's knight we were worried about. Now, all of a sudden, it's White's knight that you're worried about. Here, the move Rook C to C5 and Rook A3 check. And going into an endgame is the best move, according to the Indians. Try to fight out this position, a pawn down. After B6, you have to be careful to try to attack this pawn because of the move Rook to B3. And this endgame is starting to look quite dangerous. That other game, we see the draw there between Grishuk and MVL, them solidifying themselves in that position. But this is the position I'm interested in. After Rook A3 check, what if you just relax and play King A2? Now the Indians give this funky move, Rook to B3, giving away the knight on A5 to play this fork. But hold on a second, Rook back, attacking the Rook. And the Indians calmly take this Rook, allow for these trades, and this is the position I'm intrigued by. The Indians saying +1, but the Rook's not behind the pawn in this position. Is this, in fact, a draw after a move like Rook to B7, looking to get behind this pawn, or is it really better for Black? Maybe Garry thinks that in this line he can potentially save himself, although he has not moved as yet.
That particular Rook ending, Garry, I'm going to defer to you.
No, but I think it's the Rook C3. You know, he played Rook C3 because he believed he can play Rook F3. Here,
right.
Rook F3, exchanging rooks.
This was his intention.
Yeah, I'm sure he was intentional to play Rook F3. And if Rook's exchange, then this Rook on A1 is paralyzed because and Knight cannot move. But I think he missed Rook G5 check. And F6. And then F6, King H to F6.
Oops.
Yeah, I think that's Rook G5, that's what he missed.
Sometimes you look at that and you say, this is a guy who calculated a 15-move combination, and then he missed something like as simple like that.
This is the when we have problems, you know, it's like, you know, as we saw in Magnus game with Nakamura today, or the one that you just mentioned. You know, it's not about them, you know, missing something. It's psychological. I think what's happened with Garry is that, you know, he got nothing after the opening, and he said, fine, the game is a draw, and he just, you know, he already made the draw in his mind.
Right.
There was one minor problem. It was not yet a draw. The game was still going on. And we could see that so many times, you know, you could just, you know, you could make a draw, you could make a draw. And then, you know, what happens? You know, you wake up, you know, 10 moves later, you're pawn down, as Garry was. It's still a draw, but
No,
but
you have
it's
to be
but you have to be
careful.
careful, and you're getting and you're kicking yourself in your head. How can I make this mistake? And it's like a snowball, you know. It's this psychological frustration. I mean, why on earth was still playing this game? You know, it had to be a draw a long time ago, and it adds up. It adds up. It adds up. And Caruana, we have to give him credit. He was persistent,
Creating problems.
Tiny problems here and there and here and there. So, and I think at one point Garry simply collapsed and he got so angry with himself. I mean, it's just that he couldn't finish the game as he planned. Was a draw, and now
he's
he has
really
to.
Suffering.
He's really suffering, and. I mean, Rook C3 is just a typical, mistake from.
I must say, it doesn't come to my mind at all. You think your compensation is there.
No, but it's Rook C3, Rook F3. That's clear. He just, it's. I understand what he had in mind. The Rook goes back. Rook on A1 is paralyzed. Then I just exchange that Rook, and it's an easy draw. But Rook F5, Rook G5 check suddenly changes everything. So just imagine, that tells you how little detail can change the position. If white pawn was on H4,
right, no
problem. I remember it's once Tigran Petrosian told me, the late Tigran Petrosian, that is, it's the people talk about, chess being so strategic position. He says, you push pawn from H2 to H3, and this time it's H, and everything changes, You can have a nice story explaining, but then, tiny change, tiny detail changes in his big picture. Yeah. And all your, nice talk about strategy and positional advantages.
Tear it up.
Tear it up and throw it in the garbage.
Nice.
We talked about chess problems earlier on the show. Who are your favorite composers?
I've been spending time recently by just looking at the studies, and I have to say that I'm always attracted by Pervakov's studies. Okay. I mean, they're phenomenal. So it is now. There are many more now. Just problem composers. It is that create very complicated, very challenging positions, and I have to say that it's by trying to solve them. It's excellent training. So, and I always try to do it, when I'm flying. So just so to keep my mind busy.
Right.
And we've got Alexander Grishuk. We're setting him up with an interview with Maurice Ashley as the penultimate round continues. And we have, of course, our special guest. We've had the privilege of hearing his thoughts on chess and the state of chess in America and in the world for the last hour or two. Thanks so much again for taking so much time.
Definitely. All right,
and we're ready with Grishuk and Maurice Ashley.
With Russian star Alexander Grishuk, after a draw, it didn't seem like there was much here today. Tell us what happened in the game.
No, I think it was a very interesting game. In fact, I mean, it looks boring, obviously, I have to confess it, but I think there was a lot of play in it. I just analyzed this line before my previous game against Magnus, because it was already played in the game Carlsen against Maxim Vachier-Lagrave, but I did not look at knight a6. But I think in the game I had some real chances of an advantage, because I have this positional advantage thanks to my very strong knight, but I need to, not to let him. He has a lot of tricks, and I have to deny him of all of them, and I did not manage to. And with this knight a6, he pretty much forces a draw, because I cannot consolidate. If I had time because if I manage to make this grip with knight c6 and stuff to protect everything, then I think I can be much better, because I can just play f4, bishop f3, king g2, then maybe g4 or e4, e5. It's a very dangerous position for him, but I was just not in time in the game, so I'm sure I made some inaccurate moves.
You seem slightly disappointed by the play, like you had more expectations of the game.
No, I'm not really disappointed of the play. I was playing reasonably. I'm just hoped for another result, but not the play was okay. Nothing special.
You started off the tournament down, up, then down again. Then you solidified everything. Then you had a couple of wins, nice wins. You feeling on the upswing of your play itself? I know you're a professional of the highest class, and you want to be playing good moves more than anything else. What is your feeling right now about your?
No,
your
that's
play?
what I say. That even today it was a reasonable game. I mean, far from fantastic, but at least reasonable. Yeah.
We asked this question of other players, and I believe you as well. The player from the past that you think should be in the Sinquefield Cup. What was your answer to that question?
Garry.
And why did
No,
you?
but it was not like who should be. It was the answer whom would you like to see here.
Yes,
in this
exactly.
tournament, yes.
Why did you pick Kasparov?
No, but I mean, it would be very interesting to watch him play again. I mean, not some match against Short, but some real stuff, you know.
Wow. I'm glad I didn't say that one. Well, we will leave it at that. Alexander Grischuk, thank you very much for your games, and good luck in the last round.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
We can count on Sasha for straight answer and good one too. Yeah, not just some
Yeah,
exhibition.
no BS, right?
No,
That's what he said.
Yeah, exactly. Right to it. Have you played Sasha in your tournament career here? He was
course,
coming
many
up
times.
many times.
Many times.
And
Never lost to him.
Never lost.
How would you
And
distinguish
Beat him twice in Classic, in Linares in 2001,
Okay.
and then I beat him in Rapid also twice. So it's and then we had a few draws, but it's a positive. I don't remember the exact score, but
Right. He always struck me as a fantastic talent. Really,
Oh,
when
yeah,
you
it's just
really.
somebody could come up with some phenomenal ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
phenomenal
Somehow
ideas.
I don't feel that he reached his true potential.
No, that's if you look for the players who could do well, and they probably missed something. So he's definitely one of them.
One of them.
Yes,
How would you characterize his style? You got a question about that earlier in the broadcast.
He's a sharp player, but it's not tall like player. It's more like Spassky. So because he could play, some original positional ideas. So I would say probably if you look for someone from my great predecessors, so that will be Spassky.
Yeah. It always struck me as Boris as one of the first world champions that really were universal. I see Sasha as being a player that is universal. He can play
Yeah, but
defensive positions.
that's why I say that
yeah.
it's more like Spassky.
Yeah.
So
Of all your great predecessors, with whom did you have the closest, most developed relationship? Was it Botvinnik?
yes, probably. But I interacted with several.
So many,
yes,
yeah.
So no, Botvinnik was my tutor, so that's why we had for many years, relations. I was Petrosian with Spassky. Yeah, so that's it. I had distant relations. I mean, not with Korchnoi. So we after our match, so we it's my mother actually had very good friendly relations with Petra Leverik.
Right.
So
Victor's wife,
yeah, Victor's wife. I'm just looking for other great predecessors. No, it was Tal. I mean, it was Tal.
Tal.
Yes, very. I mean, it's good friendly relations. It's just it's all the time. I never worked with Tal, so there was actually one moment when he just played training games with me before his match with Pologaevsky, but it was in 1980. But Petrosian was just a big loss because when he would be very helpful. When I met Karpov, and he wanted to help, but it was tragic early death. Yes.
Let's take a look at our standings so far, pending 2 more game results here. Well, Levon Aronian with 5.5 points, currently a full point ahead of the field. Will he maintain it? It all depends on that Magnus Carlsen game, right? And Alexander Grischuk, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, full point behind with 4.5. Our world champion Magnus Carlsen with 4 points. Meanwhile, playing, can he press anything after some inaccuracies in his game against Nakamura?
Holding inaccuracies. Very diplomatic.
And
Big slips.
well, if he doesn't, then the tournament is, all Levon's, unless barring a lot of crazy results tomorrow, indeed, right? So let's.
But Levon plays Black Topolov yesterday, and Levon Levon as he confessed. I mean, it's just it's
Not
a negative
such a
score.
good
Negative score
score,
against
right.
Topalov. And,
Yeah, but
Still
in
everything can
addition to
happen.
losing that game, Magnus would have to win, and then they would go to playoff. So.
but not only Magnus, because there's 3 players.
Well, yeah, but
At least 3 players.
Yuri would have to win or something. I mean, Grishuk and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave were the other 2.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But some of them can win.
Oh, yes.
So that's
True.
that-
So playoff possibilities are certainly multiple, but at
Yeah.
least a tie for first
Yeah,
is
but
very, very
I,
likely.
No, I thought that today was Magnus just being, so much better, almost winning. So that's the playoff could be an option.
Should have gotten into more time pressure.
It's
And
unlikely.
an update in
That's what happened.
Garry Kasparov.
Well, no, this has not happened in this game. Sorry, guys, we're still back at this position. No, it is Caruana on move. The position in Magnus's game, certainly not many fireworks there, but we do have thunderstorms, as is typical in St. Louis at this time, and we have some terrific thunder going on outside, which is no doubt affecting the players. Well, some of them have been here before, so they know what it's like to be in St. Louis in the summertime or in the late summertime. But I mean, some terrific sounds of thunder outside, and we're even hearing it down here in the basement, so you can imagine them above us, 2 floors above us. So hopefully that doesn't affect them in any way. Garry will be his first experience with the St. Louis interesting weather here in St. Louis, but he looks quite calm right now, as though he's saying, I'm not going to lose this. It might look a little bad, but I'm not going to lose.
Well, as we see if any blood can be spilled in this game, we are in this round, or if we're going to have 5 draws, we'll take a quick break and be back for more from the penultimate round of the 2015 Sinquefield Cup.
Thank you, Garry. Thank you so much.